Hey guys, welcome back. In the last video, we set up our meetups so that they display on the home page here, and we can click on one and it's going to take us to a details page. We have our edit and delete links or buttons, but they don't do anything just yet. Before we get to that, what I want to do is make it so that we can actually add a meetup. You'll see that this goes to meetup/add, but it doesn't go anywhere because we haven't created that route yet. We haven't created the form yet, so let's go ahead and do that now. All right, so I'm going to create a new component in my components folder, and we're going to call this add meetup.js. What did I do? Create a folder? What a dipshit. Let me delete that. This is going to be a new file called add meetup.js. All right, so let's go ahead and copy. We'll take one of these and copy it. Let's do the. We'll do the meetup details. So we'll just copy that, go to our add meetup, paste that in, and let's see, what are we gonna get rid of here? We don't need the link. Actually, we'll keep the link there just in case, but let's change the class name to add meetup. And let's see, we're actually not gonna need a constructor. There's not gonna be any state to this component. We will need the, let's see, no, we won't need this. Let's just get rid of everything except for the render. All right, and then the render, I'm just going to get rid of everything in there except for the div. And let's just put an h1 in here for now. We'll just say add meetup. Okay, we want to export add meetup. And that's our component for the moment. Hey, that rhymed. That's our component for the moment. So now let's go to our route, okay, which we know is main.js, and we're going to bring in that add meetup component. So let's say import add meetup from ./add meetup, and then we're going to add a route for it. So let's copy one of these. Go ahead and actually, you know what you want to make sure of? This right here, meetup/ :id, since this is a placeholder, you want to make sure that this is last, because if we put meetups/ and then a placeholder in front or above of meetup/ add, this one is going to get hit first when we go to meetup/ add in the URL. All right, because it's going to look at that add and it's going to basically look at it as an ID. So make sure that you put this above that one. All right, and this is going to go to meetups/ add. And it's going to go to the add meetup component. All right, so let's see if I did that right. We'll go ahead and save. We already have a link in our sidebar, add meetup, which goes to that place. And there we go, add meetup. So let's go ahead and add our form. So we'll go back to the render here. And let's see, we're going to, let me see, let's actually put a back button just like we have on the details page. So let's see, just like we have here, this BR and then the link back. I'm just going to copy that and put that in the add meetup right here. And then right below the H1, we're going to put in our form. And this form is going to have an onSubmit. And this onSubmit is going to call a function called this.onSubmit, and then we just need to bind this so that we can use this inside of that function. Okay, and if you guys have worked with React, you've seen this before. Like I said, I'm not going to explain every little bit of React. So inside the form here, let's go ahead and we'll put in a div, and we'll give it a class name. Why are my angle brackets not working? We'll give it a class name of input field. Okay, so this is a materialized class. Okay, input field, and then in here we're going to have an input with a type of text. It's also going to have a name equal to name, and it's going to have a ref equal to name. And this ref is how we're going to grab onto it when we submit it. Now, in your React components, you want to make sure you end it with a slash like this, okay? Or else you're going to get an error. So under that, let's put a label. So we'll say label. Now, with JSX, we can't do for like we would in regular HTML. We actually have to do HTML for. Just like we can't do class, we have to do class name. So this will be for name, label, and we'll say name. All right. So let's save that, see what it looks like. What's this down here? Cannot read property bind of undefined. I do that wrong. This dot on submit dot bind dot. Wait a minute. Oh, it's because we didn't actually create the function here on submit. So let's just add that real quick. So we'll say on submit. And for now, let's just return, I don't know, 1. Okay, so that just gets rid of that error. So we have our name field, that's good. We're going to need a city and an address as well. So I'm going to copy this whole div right here. Paste that in. We'll paste it in one more time. This one here is going to be for city. So let's change the name. Let's change the ref and the for and the actual text. All right, and then we're going to do the same here. This will be address. All right, and then we just need a submit button. So we're going to put in an input here with the type of submit. Let's give it a value of save, and let's give it a class name of BTN. All right, let's take a look. And there we go, there's our form. So like I said, it's going to submit to this function here. Now this is going to take in an event parameter. So we want to pass in something here. I'm just going to put E. And then we want to prevent the default submit behavior. So we can do that with E.prevent default. And I'm sure you guys have seen this even with vanilla JavaScript. All right, and let's just do a console.log just to test this out. Now we should be able to access the values of the field using the ref right here. So for instance, this is ref equals name. So I should be able to say this dot refs, okay, plural, dot name dot value. All right, so let's save that, and then we'll go and we'll type something in here and submit, and you can see it's logging down here. Good. Now what we want to do here is we want to construct an object with these field values. So let's create a variable. We'll call it new meetup. Set it to an object, and in here let's say name. We'll set it to this.refs.name.value, and we'll do the same for city and address. So this will be city, address. All right, so we'll get our new meetup object, and then what we're going to do is call another function called add meetup, and then pass in that new meetup value. Okay, and we'll create that function up here. Okay, and then we're going to pass in here new meetup. Why is it new meetup? All right, and then we'll test it out by just logging it. All right, let's save, and let's go ahead and try it out. So meetup, we'll just say JS meetup and city Boston, address 4 Main Street, and we'll submit. And there it is. So we get an object with all of our fields. Now what we want to do is use Axios to make a post request to our back end. Okay, we want to make a post request right here to /meetups. and that's going to add it to our database. So let's get rid of this. We already brought Axios in, so we're going to say Axios, and I'm going to use the dot request. All right, and then inside here, actually, I always put a semicolon. We're working with promises, so this is going to be a dot then. So we don't want a semicolon. So Axios request. Now this is going to take in a couple things. It's going to take in an object. We want to specify a method, which is going to be post. It's going to be a post request. We're going to specify the URL that we want to submit to, which is going to be http localhost 3000 /API/meetups. Now I know that this is the same URL that we made a request to fetch them, but when we made the request to fetch, it was a GET request. This is a POST request, okay? So the URL can be the same, it's just the method that has to be different. Okay, now since we're making a POST request and adding data, we need to send that data along. So we're gonna say the data is gonna be the new meetup that we're passing in. All right, and then it's gonna give us a response back. So we'll say dot then. Inside here, we'll say response. And what we want to do with this is nothing really. We're just adding it. So let's just redirect. And we can do that by saying this.props.history.push. Okay. And we're able to access props.history because of the router. The router adds this history object. All right, and then push is just basically going to direct us to wherever we want, which is going to be the home page. All right, and then I'm going to just do a simple dot catch here as well. Actually, I'll go right here and say dot catch, and we'll say error. Set that to console.log error, if there is one. Okay, so let's go ahead and try it. So we'll save. And we'll go to our form here. Let's just refresh this. And let's add, let's see, what do we got here? Angular and React. So I think we need a Vue.js meetup. So let's say Vue.js meetup. City, we'll say, I don't know, Newark, New Jersey. Address, we'll say 555 Essex Street, and save. And there we go, Vue.js meetup. If I click on it, city Newark and address 555 Essex Street. Good. So we can now add meetups. And if we go to our LoopBack Explorer and we go to get/meetups and we click the try out, there it is. So we're now successfully adding data to our backend from our front end. All right. So let's see, what do we got for time here? Just seeing if, let's see. I guess we can move on to the delete because that's not going to be too bad. So yeah, we'll take care of the delete. So let's see, we'll go to our meetup details. And we just have a button here. It doesn't do anything. So we need to add an event to this button, just like we did for the form. So this is going to be a click event. 1 second. All right, so yeah, let me just put an on click in here. All right, so on click, and this is going to equal, actually we don't want quotes, we want curly braces. I'm going to say this dot on delete, and then we need to just bind this. All right, and then let's go up here and let's go ahead and add that. So we'll say on delete. Okay. Now for the ID, the way that I'm going to get it is through the state, okay? Because we already set the state when we did the get meetup. So we'll put that in a variable here. We'll say let meetup ID equals this dot state dot details dot ID, and then let's do an Axios. Did I bring in Of course I did. I used it up here. So we can do Axios dot delete, and we want to pass in here some backticks, and we want to do HTTP localhost 3000 / API / meetups / and then the meetup ID, which we can put in with this syntax here. Okay, and this here is not part, this syntax, this money sign, this is not part of React. This is just ES6. If we use a template literal or template string with these backticks, we can insert variables with that. Okay, so that has nothing to do with React. All right, you could just as well concatenate it with a plus sign and just use quotes instead of backticks. All right, now this is going to give us a response, so get rid of the semicolon. I always do that. And then we'll say .then, and this is going to give us a response. Oops. All right, and then in here, we just want to redirect. So this .props.history.push, and let's go to the home page or the meetups page, and then we'll do a .catch and error console.log error. Okay, so that should work. Let's save it. There we go. All right, so let's actually just add a dummy meetup to delete. All right, so we don't want that. We'll click delete, and there it goes. So we can now fetch meetups, we can view the details, we can add them, and we can delete them. The only thing we have left to do is we want to be able to edit them. Now we are doing pretty good on time here, so I think that we'll just take care of that as well. All right, now we're going to need an edit component, just like we have an add component. It's going to be very similar to the add. It's going to be the same form, except we want to pre-fill it. So it's going to be basically a mix of the add component and the details component. So let's go ahead, let's create that file under components. We'll call it edit meetup.js. And let's copy the add meetup component and then paste that into the edit. All right, and then let's see what we're gonna need here. Let's keep all that stuff. We'll change it. Excuse me. We'll change this to edit. We are gonna need a constructor, and you know what I'm gonna do is just get rid of everything except the render. All right, and then for the render, let's do this before I forget to. So this will be export edit meetup. Actually, let's just leave it as this for now. We'll just change the title here to edit because I just want to add the route real quick. All right, so let's go to our main.js. That's where our routes are. We're going to bring in edit meetup. All right, and the route for this, I'm going to copy that, put it here. It's going to be meetup/edit/ID, and then it's going to call edit meetup. All right, so let's try that out. Now we already have an edit button that should go to the right place, or does it? Yeah, meetup/edit/ID. Looks like we're getting an error down here. Let's see, cannot read property bind of undefined. So that, the reason for that is because I deleted the onSubmit function. Let's see, yeah, I deleted the onSubmit function, which I probably shouldn't have. So let's get that back from the add meetup page, just right here. Grab that, put that in here. And then that's pretty much going to be the same. We're going to grab the values, except we're going to call a function called edit meetup instead of add. So if we save that, it should now load. There we go. Now we want to bring in the current meetup. We don't want this to be a blank form, obviously. So to do that, we're going to create another function called get meetup details. Actually, you know what I'll do is let's go to the actual meetup details page, and yeah, let's grab this get meetup right here. And we'll bring that to edit meetup and paste that in. All right, except we'll call it get meetup details. All right, now we're getting the ID from the URL from right here. So we're getting it the same way using the match.params. All right, and then the request is going to be the same request, a get request to the API meetups and then the ID. And then in the response, we want to set the state, except we're not going to have details. We're going to have each value as a state value. So we'll have the ID, the name, the city, and the address. So before we get into this, let's actually just, yeah, let's delete that for now. And then we'll go up and create a constructor. Oh, create a constructor here, and this constructor is going to take in props. We'll give it props for being such a cool constructor. And then super props. And then we're going to say this.state equals an object. Equals an object, and then it's going to have an ID, which we're going to set to nothing. We're going to set all of these initially to nothing. So name, city, and not state, address. Okay, and then let's see, we're going to go into our .then. This should be tabbed over. And inside here, we're going to set our state. So we're going to say this.setState. All right, we're fetching from this URL, and then we're getting our response. And then what we'll do is we'll set an object, which will be our state, and we want to set ID to this.response.data.id. Be a comma, and we're going to do the same for the other three. So we'll have name. So this will be response.data.name, city, and address. All right, so that'll set the state to each one of those. And then let's go ahead and put a comma here with an arrow function. And let's just console.log the state. Now this isn't going to be called automatically, so what we'll do is use our component will mount lifecycle function. And we'll call this dot get meetup details, save. Let's go over here. Cannot read property data of undefined. So let's see what the hell happened here. 33. That's not right. Edit meetup. Oh, 25. So it's talking about this. So this dot, oh, it shouldn't be this. Why'd I put this? It should just be response. Because we're getting it from the return from the promise from this request right here. So let's save that. All right, there we go. So now we're getting this information here, which is what we want to insert into this form. All right, so what we can do is go down to the render and go into the input and put a value. Okay, so value equals, not that, value equals this dot state dot name. Okay, each field has its own state value now. So that's going to be the name. We'll go ahead and copy that, and then for the city, we'll say this dot state dot city, and then we have the address, which will be this dot state dot address. All right, let's save and see what we get. All right, so now the form is filled. Now, if I go and I try to type something in to change this, it's not going to work. And this is a protected form. This is something that really confused the absolute crap out of me. I don't want to curse because YouTube is being insane about cursing lately. They're going to demonetize my video if I say that, the S word. But anyways, if I try to change this, it's not going to work. So what I need to do is add an onChange event to each of these fields. All right, so we're going to add in the input, we're going to say onChange. Oh. Okay, so onChange equals, and we'll say this dot. Now, if it was just one field, like we could do, you know, on name change, or even if we had two fields, we could do on name change, on city change. But when you start to have a lot of fields, you don't want to do that. You want to have just one event for all of your fields. So I'm just going to create one function called handle input change. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll say handle input change. All right, and then we need to do dot bind this, because we want to be able to use this inside of this method here. Now, this is one way to do it. This is how we've been doing it, as you can see right here with submit. But another thing we could do is go up into the constructor, just to show you. If we go in the constructor under the state and just say this dot handle input change equals this dot handle input change dot bind this, and then we don't have to add it down below to all three. All right, so now this should be just fine. So what we'll do is copy this, the onChange, and then just add that to the other inputs as well. So that, and this right here as well. Okay, so now we'll save that, and we're going to get an error over here. At least I think we're gonna. What's going on? Because we don't have that handle change function. So let's go ahead and create that. We'll go right here and we'll say handle input change. Now this is going to take in an event parameter. This is how we're going to figure out what actual input is being changed. So we'll create a variable called target, and we'll set it to e.target. And then let's create a variable called value, and we'll set that to target.value. This is kind of a long way of doing it. You can get the value by e.target.value, but we're kind of breaking it up into variables. All right, and then we want to get the name. All right, so basically whatever is in this right here, this name attribute, so it'll be name, city, or address. So we're going to say const name equals target.name. Okay. And then we want to set the state. We want to set whatever is, for instance, whatever we're typing in, let's say the city field, whatever we're typing in, each time we type, it's going to fire this event off, and it's going to add that to the state, the city that's inside of the state. So we need to do, just like we've done before, set state. Okay, and then we're just going to put in here an object, and we want to just put some brackets here because this is basically like a variable or a placeholder, and we want to set that to the value. Okay, whatever this is. All right, this is an easier way of doing it than adding a separate change handler for each input. All right, hopefully I haven't lost you guys. So let's go ahead and save, and now it should work. We should be able to edit. Okay, so now we can actually edit our fields, which is good. And it's changing the state, each time we type. It's calling this function. Okay, so now that we can do that, we want to handle the submit. Okay, so it gets submitted, and then it's going to call edit meetup. All right, so that's should be the last method that we need to create. So let's go ahead and do that. So we'll put this, let's see, where should we put this? We'll put it right above the on submit. We'll say edit meetup. And then this is going to take in the new meetup. All right, and this is going to be almost identical to the add meetup. So let's go over there. Let's go to add meetup.js, and let's take a look at this function here, and let's take everything inside of it. Put it in here. Now, the one thing that we need, or actually there's a couple things. There's basically two things we need to do here. One, we need to switch this to a put request. Since we're updating, we want to go to, I'll just show you on the back end here. We want to go right here, put/meetups, since we're updating. Now, it needs to know which one to update, so we need to add that to the URL. We need to add that to the end here, to the route. So let's change this to a backtick so that we can add a variable. And we'll say slash, and then remember that the ID is stored in the state, so we can get it from there. So we'll say this.state.id. All right, and let's give it a shot. So we'll save. Let's go back to meetups. Let's reload this. This is the Vue.js meetup. I'm going to go ahead and change the title here to, let's change it to Vue.js meetup. And we'll change the city to, let's say, I don't know, let's say Lynn. And save. And now Vue.js meetup, and now it's in Lynn. All right, so we now have full CRUD functionality in our application. So we're now at the point that I showed you in the beginning. All right, now there's one thing we have left to do, and that is to basically compile our client source to the client folder that's in the LoopBack server. All right, so we're going to stop the video here, and then we're going to do that in the next one. Hey guys, if you've been watching my videos for a while and you really like what I do and I've helped you out a lot, consider becoming a patron. Even for $1 per month, it pushes me to keep bringing you guys the best content I possibly can. There's reward tiers for discounts, free Udemy courses, personal support, and more. So check out the Patreon link in the description below for more info.